I'm going to continue today with your next lesson, all still with completing the square like we did on Friday. If you guys are struggling, let me know. I'll try to do like an extra help session or something this week. We'll see how it goes. So let's just talk about number one. Brian correctly uses a method of completing the square. Okay, so they're telling you you're going to use completing the square to solve this problem. And they give you the equation, x squared plus 7x. Okay, and at first they do minus 11 equals 0. But then they said his next step, or his first step, was to rewrite it where the 11 goes on the other side, which makes total sense. So if we start with this, okay, we know that it makes sense that he added 11 to both sides. Get the constant to the other side. So now here's what you have to remember. Leave room for your magic number, right? Equals your 11 plus that magic number. So let's remind ourselves, how are we getting the magic number, okay? To get that magic number, take your B value, which here's a little tough because it's odd. Take half of it, right? And then, well, if you do that, you get 3.5, so you could do that, but look at all your answers. They're fractions. So let's take 7 over 2, half of your B term, and now square it. And if you square that, it's literally 7 over 2 times itself, which would give you 49 fourths. That is your magic number. Okay, in this question, they didn't ask you to go any further, so that's all you needed to tell me. What number did she add to both sides? They're pretty much asking you, what's your magic number? And it would be 49 fourths. Now, let's say you had used 3.5. You could, okay, so let me just show you this. If you had said, okay, 3.5, because 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, and then you took 3.5 and squared it, you get 12.25. And if you look at 49 divided by 4, it's equivalent to 12.25. So that's another option to know you got the right number. Okay, let's try another one. In number 2, they say which equation has the same solution as this. Now remember, you're just getting an equivalent equation. You are going to use the completing the square method because don't all of those look like halfway through to the complete the square method? So here in this first one, you're going to move that 2 over to the other side. So I have x squared minus 6x. I'm going to leave a blank equals negative 2 plus that same blank. Okay, so how am I getting my blank? I'm taking the B value. Here's my B value. Here it's negative 6. So to get my magic number is my number that I'm going to add to both sides, and my magic number is the number that's going to make the left side a perfect square trinomial. So to get it, I'm going to take half of B, which is negative 3. So half square, which would be positive 9, and then share it to both sides. Why do I do that? Because I could now rewrite this trinomial. This is a trinomial, x squared minus 6x plus 9. I can rewrite that as the product of the exact same factor times itself. And that factor would be x minus 3 times itself, x minus 3. But instead of writing it like that, we show it like this. Negative 2 plus 9, you could just simplify that and you would get 7. So that should be the number you're looking for, which is choice 2. Now, the whole point of doing this is that you could get it to be something squared on one side and a number on the other, because the next step would be to take the square root of both sides. But in this question, you didn't even have to do that because your answer was just giving you another equation. Okay. So this one says, when directed to solve the quadratic equation by completing the square, Susan arrived at the equation x minus 3 squared equals 29 fourths. Which equation could have been the original? Okay, so a couple of things I guess you could do here. You could take your choices and try to complete the square, Or technically, you could simplify what you have there. The fractions are annoying, but you could just move things around. In other words, you could do, I'm trying to think what's going to be the easiest for you guys. I would say expand out x minus 3 over 2 times itself. X minus 3 over 2 equals 29 fourths. Okay, and you're just going to either use the box method or double distribute. I'll show double distribute to see what you're going to get. So if I do x times x, I have x squared. I have negative 3 over 2x. I have another minus 3 over 2x. And then I have a positive 9 fourths. 3 times 3, negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. 2 times 2 is 4. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. And then on the other side, I still have my 29 fourths. Okay. So when you take these two terms, these are like terms, right? So I'm thinking you're going to want to go into the calculator. I guess you don't have to right now. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to just show that if I have, clear this out, minus 3 over 2, right, minus 3 halves, minus another 3 halves. What I get? Negative 3, okay? I have negative, so now that's going to be negative 3x, and I have plus 9 fourths equals 29 fourths. Well, I don't want that 29 fourths. Look what all of my equations are equal to, 0. So if I move that 29 fourths over, okay, and again, you could use your calculator, but if I have 9 fourths minus 29 fourths, I have negative 20 fourths, which equals negative 5. And that's your answer. X squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. That's your original equation before completing the square. So you're just simplifying by doing distributing and moving things around to see what you started with. Okay, let's try this one. In number 4, it says a student is given the equation x squared plus 10x minus 13 equals 0, and they want to solve by completing the square. Okay, so remember our steps. They are telling us first, the first step is written below. So what was the first step? They clearly added 13 to both sides. Okay, so what's the next step? Well, look what they're doing. They're adding the same number to both sides. So that's what I call our magic number. So it says state the value of C that creates the perfect square trinomial. So how do we get that value for C? Well, we take half, square, and then share. So if I take our B value, which here is 10, and I divide it by 2, I get 5, and then I square it, it's 25. So this is your answer. C would be 25. You would add 25 to both sides. Okay, so again, I don't think we understand why. So let me just explain why. The original, this x squared plus 10x minus 13 equals 0. Are there two numbers that I could factor to multiply to negative 13 and add to 10? Nope, right? It's not factorable. But if I, okay, move the 13 to the other side and give myself a new number, and I'm making it a perfect square, okay? Look what I made it. I made it 25. It made this side become x plus 5 squared. Does everybody see that? Okay, so now your other side would be 37. And once you get a squared term on one side and a non-perfect square on the other side, you now are allowed to take the square root of both sides. That's how you then go further. So you say x plus 5 equals plus or minus radical. Here it's, I wrote 37, sorry, it's 38. Okay, and now I say to myself, okay, are there any two numbers that multiply to 38 where one of them can be a perfect square? So like, no, 2 and 19, 3 doesn't go in, 4 doesn't go in, 5 doesn't go in. No, so that's simplified. So I would just minus 5, and I would get x equals -5 plus or minus rad 38. So kind of nice. This one did not ask you to solve, but I wanted you to see that. This question did ask you to explain how you got C, and all you would say is, I took the B value, which here was 10, divided it by 2, or you could say or took half, and then squared it. Okay, that's how you got it. You took half of 10 and then squared it. Okay, that's really all you have today. Light day, not so bad. I'm going to give you 4 practice questions, and please let me know if you need some help.